signals in. It's out. It's so weird being quiet.
Eran, just make sure that you keep an eye on your waveform. I'll just, as done it a few times, we're just so,
Yeah, well, I'm assuming that start recording from now on.
no, you don't have to turn it. We'll do
Okay. But just waveform looks terrific. That's I'm gonna negative.
good.
Our faces here to get going.
Hello, everyone.
Got people filing in right now.
Yeah.
Paul, Todd, Chris, Jeff. What's up?
Test.
Thanksgiving week here in the U.S.
Yeah. Taking the week off.
Yeah.
Kind of.
All right. Looks like everything is working. People filing in here. We're going to go ahead and start recording. Everybody can start recording now.
Cool.
Check. I am rolling.
I'm rolling as well.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
I must be rolling as well.
We're gonna do a sync clap, which will be 1, 2, 3 clap. Okay. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Cool.
Perfect.
All right. And
Couldn't have been more perfect.
We'll sync that up later. All right. If everybody's ready, we're going to get right to it. I'll mute my phone here. There we go.
Yeah, I should do the same.
Shotgun says, what up, what up? All right.
Go ahead, Dave.
Here we go. What's up and welcome to another Mograph Mocast. I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt. Joining us today is super tutorial man extraordinaire, Mr. Eran Stern.
Hi, hello, and thank you for having me. Great to be here. I'm excited.
And Mograph is a supplement to our site, mograph.com, which is a motion graphics tutorial site with tutorials, plugins, podcasts, and other Mograph stuff. And on the show, we talk about everything ranging from motion graphics to Cinema 4D, After Effects plugins, render engines, doing business, doing taxes, being a contractor, or working for the man. You can email us info@mograph.com. Let us know what you think about the show. Questions, comments, concerns, queries, grievances, topic ideas, artist suggestions. We're open to everything, anything. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, mograph.com. You can find us anywhere. Ask us a question. Ask us something noob. Ask us something super advanced. What are your questions? What do you want to hear about? Let us know. Send us an email. It is Thanksgiving week, and we're taking it a little bit easy here. Just slowing down.
Just finished up a big project that we've been working on all year, so we're giving thanks for that.
Yeah, we are very thankful for that because
taking a little bit of time off.
It kept us in business this year, which is good.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
very happy about that, and I am very sore from working on a backyard patio, and I used Cinema 4D to help me build my patio. I've used Cinema 4D for a lot of housework recently.
Yeah,
maybe
same here.
I should hit up Matthias and see, maybe we could do a presentation at some point that's about like remodeling your house with Cinema 4D.
That's actually a good
That'd be
idea.
awesome. What I've been doing though is making this patio, and it was kind of a little bit of a grade that I had to deal with to keep everything level. And I have the new iPhone, and so I was using LiDAR and kind of doing these dailies every day while we were digging and while we were tilling things, which my hands hurt from tilling. And it's really cool because it is very accurate when it comes to leveling and measurements. So
yeah, it would tell you down to the inch, right?
Yeah, it would tell me down to the inch, and I knew how many inches of sand I needed to level and how big the pavers were. And I used, of course, I did an initial LiDAR scan to design it and use Mograph cloners and things, and for all the patio stones, the heaviest cloners I've ever lifted. And so what was great
This
though,
needed some poly reduction, right?
yeah, oh
Bring down
man,
stuff in displacement map. It would
yeah,
have been much lighter.
much lighter. But what was great though is that every day we could use the LiDAR and kind of do these dailies after it got dark, run them back into Cinema 4D as an OBJ file. And I would put a plane through it, and I would start it at 0, and I would go up and say, okay, the sand is going to be at 2 inches. And then I could see where the sand was too high. You know, the plane, you can move the plane through it, kind of intersect it and see, you know, where we had to basically dig the next day, which was really awesome. Like, it worked so well. I had, you know, I had like a pile of extra sand in an area and a shovel, and it's like, okay, this area is way too low, so we need to move this area, shift this over here, and it worked great. It worked great. Jeff says I should have used LOD for the pavers.
LOD5, yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, so I'll post some pictures or something on that at some point. But a couple other notes here. We got the holiday show. We just locked in the date for the holiday show. We've been watching the past 2 holiday shows just to reminisce.
Man,
they're really funny.
It is crazy thinking about how much has changed.
I know.
Not only my weight and my stupid hair wise, you know, but also like, you know, we've been playing Switch for the past 2 years or whatever, and the holiday show is when we decided to buy our Switches, you know, and it's like, it's so funny, like looking back, talking about like the next camp and all this other stuff, and it's like, oh no, dude, you have no idea how the world's gonna change.
What's in store?
Months.
I know. I know, but it was really fun to watch some of that. It's really funny because we just kind of just lay back and relax and chat it up, and I drink. I don't know about everybody else, but I have a drink, and so it was fun. We'll do it again. I need to work on the setup a little bit because we've all got green screens now, so we'll see. Another thing on my list there. So that's going to be December 21st at the regular time. So it's just a regular podcast episode, basically. So if you were interested in that, check that out on the 21st. Then we had our live special with Don Allen last Thursday. That was really fun.
Good discussion.
It was really good discussion. The Skype, his audio on Skype. Freaking Skype is awful sometimes, but... but it was good. We had some really like deep discussion about AI and VR and AR and where things are going and all of that, and just great conversation with Don. He's a really nice guy, and so the mini course, the crash course on AR, it's under an hour. Is out now. You can get that for $37, and I was gonna play a promo here. I should probably do that.
Let's do it.
So if you do want to check out the course, you can go to mograph.com/classes, and you can get like all the info there on what it's about. So what this isn't about right now is the inner workings of Spark AR. This is more about like how you get from Cinema 4D to Spark AR and export. It's just kind of like, what's the workflow? Just to kind of get you introduced to this so you understand. And he does have some plans to do some more later. What were you going to say?
I feel like that's always the most important part with any, you know, any secondary program that you're going to, like Houdini or something like that. That's one reason why I really like the Houdini course that Mark did, is because he starts off doing like this is, you know, the full from beginning to render. You know, so just being able to see exporting out of C4D, bringing in the Spark AR, and then, you know, it's a great little workflow.
Yeah. So it's great. It's a crash course. It gets you in there, and he's got plans for getting under the hood of Spark AR a little more in the future. If you watch the live special, or if you want to check it out, I'll have it in the show notes, and you can see what he's been doing in AR. It's really interesting. He's got some filters that are doing really well, and he's on the top. What is it? There's like thousands of people that do this, and he's like in the top 88, which means he's a Spark AR partner.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So check that out. And here's the promo. I'm going to show this real quick. Here we go.
Hey everyone, I'm Don Allen Stevenson III, and I'm inviting you to check out my new AR crash course on Mograph.com. This mini course will teach you the Cinema 4D to Spark AR workflow in under an hour. It's super easy, and you'll be creating your own filter in no time. Do you have at least an hour? Why not sign up and learn something new? Just go to Mograph.com, click on classes, and I'll see you there. All you're gonna need is an hour. Let's go.
So check that out and let us know what you think. We got a little survey there at the end, and I'd like to know what everybody thinks about that. And what else we got? Don't forget, stop being afraid of Houdini. It's slowing down. This is the holiday season. Things sometimes they ramp up because you're finishing projects, but then there's kind of that slowdown there where everybody kind of closes up shop. It'd be a good time to learn something new. So you can check out Stop Being Afraid of Houdini or Creating the Unreal with Jonathan Winbush. Live on Saturdays, he's been going on Twitch, and just it's interesting. It's gameplay. He's doing different games like Mario Kart, and EJ will hop on, and Mario Kart, like some other, what else? Smash.
I think they did Smash Brothers, yeah.
But everybody's playing and talking motion graphics at the same time. It's kind of fun.
Just fun.
Chilling and all that. I missed it because I was working on the patio this week, but I plan on being there on Saturday evenings that I can make it. Also, I love the response we've gotten on the renders call out. We've been asking for renders for our front
thanks
page.
To everyone who's sent in their renders.
Got some really good ones. If you want your stuff on the new front page in our little reel, we just want to have like stuff that the community has done, and like these are people who are heavily involved in our community, and just have something that feels like it's part of Mograph and not just like some random, I don't know, designs or something that I throw up there, something that actually means something. So if you have anything you'd like to send it to info@mograph.com. We'll be sure to credit you, of course, when we put the video in there. And videos are preferred over stills. And that's about it for that. Just a real quick Ravcock, what's your flavor?
What's your flavor?
We got some 3090s this week, finally.
Yeah, it was so funny. So I was rocking my baby, trying to get him down to sleep, and my old boss text messages me, and he's like, or he actually called me. I was like, hey, let me call you back. I'm rocking the baby to sleep. He's like, oh, I was just curious if you were in line at Micro Center. You got a Micro Center here. He said they just got some 3090s, and I was like, oh, I was lucky enough to get one 3090 already. I don't know how long it's going to be before I get a second one, So I finally get the baby down. The second I put him in the crib, I start getting notifications from Hotstock saying Best Buy has them in stock. So I ran as fast as I could upstairs to get to my Best Buy.
You threw the baby on the floor.
Yeah,
just
threw the baby on the floor.
Yeah.
But then I went to Best Buy, the Best Buy thing, and I immediately started calling Dave because I'm like, Dave, you gotta be able to get these. You gotta get these, and because I have one, Dave doesn't have any, but we each want two,
right.
So as I'm texting him, he's like, dude, they're here,
Yeah.
He's in his car trying to get them.
No, I was at Home Depot in the tillers section looking at which tiller I should buy. So I literally set my phone down on top of the tillers, and I'm like sitting there like trying to use my phone. But I gotta say that Hotstock app is on it, man.
It's great. Yeah. So it's called Hotstock. I don't know if there's a Android equivalent, but for free you can select one item that you want to know about. If you want to pay a monthly thing, you could do multiple items, whatever. But they've got like Xboxes and 3090s and blah blah blah, and I was really worried that it was only gonna like ding once and I was gonna miss it because I'm a glutton for punishment and I like having my Slack notifications go all the time for all 500 channels that we have, but it actually just dings constantly over and over and over again, while you're trying to get it. So it's great. You definitely won't miss the notification. But as long as this has now happened twice, as long as you're like there to get it immediately, you'll be able to get one of the 3090s, which was
Yeah.
great. So Dave was able to pick one up. I was able to pick up a second one, and then I also picked up an NV link. So I'm gonna have 48 gigs of VRAM.
Oh
I'm
my
so pumped.
gosh.
It's gonna be amazing.
48 gigs of VRAM. That's gonna be insane. That's gonna
Yeah.
be insane, dude.
And they're chunky boys too. They are huge.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, they're like at least another 2 inches longer than my other cards. You know, but it'll be nice to be able to get rid of my old 980 Ti's.
I can't believe you still
then-
have 980s, dude.
Dude, they're so slow. They're so slow.
They're slow.
You know, like
they're
I'm gonna have
noisy.
2 like killer monster machines now instead of just having like, you know, one really good one and one just decent one. I don't know. It's nice.
Yeah,
It's not the 3090 with the blower.
Yeah.
We were talking about getting the 3090s with the blowers, but they're not out yet. They haven't been released in the US yet. I think they're in Australia. I know that for sure because KCV was able to get a couple of them, you know, but they're like also like $3,000 in Australia. And it's like, I don't want to buy them and then ship them here.
The thing is that the way that the new ones are designed, the blowers, the in and out, they won't interfere too much with each other. And having two
Yeah.
of them, you'll be able to have like one little slot there. It'll be fine.
It'll be
fine.
totally fine.
We'll
I mean,
have
I've got a 2080, a 2070 Super, and a 3090 in my machine right now, and it's fine. You know, I'm gonna
Yeah.
take the 2080 and the 2070 Super out, put in the 3090. I think I'll still have like one space in between them, so it'll be a breeze.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
So super excited about it though.
Yeah.
I'm on Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. It's over Thanksgiving. You can get your render on.
Right.
Yeah.
We just finished up our big project, and I have no more renders to do.
Yeah, you don't have
know,
anything to render with.
for the
That's-
foreseeable future.
yeah. Time to do some dailies.
Right.
With some really, really, really large scenes.
Right. Throw everything I possibly can.
Get
at it.
everything Kit Bash
Don't,
sells.
Like, don't render instance anything.
Yeah, on purpose. Yeah.
Purpose.
Yeah.
That'd be funny.
Well. All right. Well, let's get to the topics here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about you for a minute here, Eran, and let's talk about I guess start from the beginning. You've
been in the industry for a while.
I was gonna say you've been around for a while. You
Yes.
have a lot of fans. I noticed that people were commenting on our social posts coming out like that they've been following you for a long time, and
Since the Creative Cow days.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Creative cow.
so tell us about first of all where you did or did not go to school, and how that influenced your journey.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, I'm a veteran almost. So I'm doing this for almost like 20 years, I guess, maybe even more. Who knows? Definitely in my first language for more.
Mhm.
So I actually first studied business management because I thought I must own some serious education
Mhm.
that will help me in real life. So I have a BA in that department. But then I realized that, I'm doing something that I don't like and I couldn't care less about. So after 10 years, I actually worked at Autodesk as a sales manager
Oh, cool.
wow.
for 10 years and then slowly moved to the flame, smoke, fire, inferno department,
Mm-hmm.
which was then known as media and entertainment. So just a little bit of a history for you. So it wasn't Autodesk that time it used to be called Discrete Logic. And then they gave up their Logic name
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not going to say why, but there is a joke hidden in the lines here between. And so then I work for Discrete and then Autodesk bought them. So anyhow, I decided to reevaluate my life and maybe follow my heart. And then at I'm going to say around 30, I actually started to learn design.
Mhm.
And did other stuff. So it actually was like, my first design project was in the military, in the army. So I was based, and now I'm in London for a couple of years now, but I grew and based in Tel Aviv in Israel. And at 18, you must go to the army to service for 3 years. So it's a mandatory thing for everyone. And then in order to get a degree, if you want to like move into in the ladder, you need to do some project. And since I was in some sort of an education base, I thought also coming from like paint and drawing background. So I've used Micromedia Director. It was back at 1991, just to give you a little bit of a time frame here, because I feel like, I did a little bit of exodus to a different ship now. But so I created a short animated movie, which was a huge challenge back at these days in terms of printing it to video. So we use Radius. Remember those cards by Radius? I'm not sure if you are old enough or young enough, whatever.
Well, I used Shockwave and Director and all of that, but I don't think I ever did anything to video from that. So I don't.
So Radius is a hardware actually company, which was integrated into a Mac Pro equivalent. I think it was Quadra computers, anyhow.
Oh yeah.
We've used this solution, which was basically a little bit better than just shooting the computer screen with a camera, to print it to video, and it was very, very a lot of effort, but it was worth it. So I got my rank and realized that I found my zone, and then due to some motherly pressure, I went to learn the business management stuff and went to do some marketing and sales, which actually came very useful later down the line when I actually needed more of a real world experience selling my stuff and doing other stuff. So so it's actually it made sense to me. So yeah, this was the beginning of the path for me. So I did a very, very long way to get to this year using the longest path possible.
Yeah, I think I learned, because if you do Director and you do Shockwave, kind of the next step is Flash, of course, and I think that's really where I learned about keyframes.
Yeah, same here.
It was basically one frame at a time. So every frame was a keyframe. So I think that Flash or Animate, the way it is called now, is still behaving more or less the same way. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm not doing classic animation, but this was the beginning. And yes, this is definitely the word twinning actually was there in the application.
Okay.
We are now using for our purposes, but it was the first time that I actually saw a computer twin my work. It was great.
We used to. I worked at a place where we didn't have any of these fancy cards and we used to get people who came in all the time who wanted like animations that they had done in Flash or something like that to like VHS or DVD, or not even DVD at the time, to SVHS or Beta,
Yeah.
And it's like it was like an analog to digital converter that would plug into the monitor. We'd use it as like a secondary monitor, which then would go out into like a beta deck or something like that. So it was almost like you're just using it as you're playing it on the secondary monitor and then just recording it straight.
So imagine doing all of that with the previous generation. So it was U-matic. As we used to call it. High-band was the first. It was the previous generation from Sony, and there was Beta, which was something out of this world.
Yeah,
all analog, but much more stable, and the quality was even better because it was component, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, this is it, and then I started working as an editor for a couple of years. So I worked for a few broadcasters in Israel, in Tel Aviv, and did some editing work, just learning how to tell a story for a couple of years, just doing all of the from the really beginning stuff of ingesting material. It was back then only Avid Media Composer, and then I used obviously Discrete Logic Edit, and then Smoke. And then finally I got to work on a Flame. So I worked on a Flame for a couple of years before going into the Adobe desktop stuff,
Wow.
So I actually started with the big mountain, or
Yeah, I was gonna say.
paramount of post-production, working with Flame for almost 5 years, maybe even more, which was great. I learned so much. I mean, everything that basically I know about composition or compositing, I learned by doing it. So by sitting with clients and with flame artists. This is the way we used to call them back then at the days. I'm not sure how they are called now. Maybe flame operator, I heard. Very insulting, I must say. Compared to
I think
flame
it's still
artist.
flame artist, right? I don't know.
It should be flame
Yeah.
artist. So yes, I'm considering myself as a flame artist, or at least a retired flame artist.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting the way that actually Autodesk are building this flame. It's actually a machine that if you're working, and I specifically call it a machine and not a program or a software, because it is baked within specific hardware.
Yeah.
The way that it works until these days, I think, with those 6 major buttons, is that if you're working with a client behind your back, there is 0 chance that he will understand anything that you are doing.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's really funny.
It's the opposite of working with, the famous Adobe tools or something everyone owns, or at least see or work at some point of his life or her life. So it was really a unique experience, the way they're building it. And this is, of course, I think one of the reasons they can charge so much. Obviously, it is, or at least it was ahead of the curve those days. It could do things. You were just speaking about graphic cards and stuff like this. So those SGI machines with a 4 gigabyte card, I know it sounds so low, but it could basically bend video like butter. So it was really unique. And they still have some, tricks at their sleeves that nobody can do except of those machines. So I have a warm heart for all the Autodesk tools until today.
Yeah, I want to say, what did I have? I want to say it was like Premiere. Gosh, I don't even know what version it was. Premiere, I don't know, 2 or something that came with some of the software or hardware that I bought. Like, what was it called? Oh, well, okay. So Sound Blaster, right?
Yeah.
They had something that came out in the 90s called Video Blaster.
I remember this.
Yeah, and that was like game changing because you could use Premiere and you could actually export it. Because back in the day, it's weird because when I first got a computer, it actually just by default didn't go to a monitor. It had a like a regular video jack on it, like composite jack. So you could export the stuff that you had on the really old computers because you could just plug it into a VCR.
The Amiga also had the same thing. Actually, the Amiga was one of the best video cards computer ever built.
Yeah, and they had those
outputs.
The video toaster was amazing.
Yeah.
Like it was
video toaster.
Like, it was probably, when I was using the video toaster, like it was ancient. It was still ancient,
Yeah, and it stuck around.
Because I was working at a place where they just didn't want to upgrade anything, so we had 2 video toasters for like creating like wedding collages and picture collages and stuff like that. And we were using it as a way of like, it was like stop motion in a way,
Yeah.
So like we'd have the toaster and we'd have a little button that we'd hit and it would take a picture of the picture. And then you'd do it again and do it again and do it again, and then just go through and set them all to like 3 seconds with dissolves,
Yeah.
and then run it into a VHS machine and just hit record.
Now
crazy.
The one I was showing there a second ago, that was a Color Computer 3, so that was about 1988, 1989. But it was really great to get Video Blaster because it allowed you to find the output, because like when regular PCs finally did come out, they just didn't have a way to output at all, So I was having to like record the screen anytime I wanted to do a recording of a graphic. Like I had Autodesk Animator. Do you remember Autodesk Animator on
Sure.
in DOS? So my
Of course.
brother and I would create stuff growing up, but then we didn't have a way to export it. So we actually just recorded the screen with a video camera. That's all we could do,
Wow.
you know.
Yes.
And
With all
yeah,
the flickering, it's amazing.
Yeah.
yeah, you had no way to like sync
There you
the
go.
flickering
50
or
and 60 hertz. This is the reason why we have different
yeah,
outlets in the
Mm-hmm.
States and other places. I mean, Japan, of course, and the other places in the
yeah.
world.
But
Wow,
man,
nice,
it's
nice.
all come like it's just incredible where it's come. You know, I mean, I
What's
know it's
funny
been a
is
couple
you could
decades, but
probably show that nowadays, and people would just think it's like some
retro
know,
filter.
retro art,
Yeah.
spoof or something like that. You
Yeah.
know.
I think it's important though. Like, I think people like us who came up during that time, and this applies to things like the internet as well. It's you come up during this time where you're growing up with the technology, so it
Mm-hmm.
feels really like you've aged with it from its infancy, your infancy and its infancy to now, because people who are born now into it, that's just how the world is. We saw the world changing as that happened, and the internet too, and it was always one of those things where you're right on, the technology is right on the cusp of doing more and doing more.
Mm-hmm.
You're on your computer, you're like, I wish I could put this onto video, and then like maybe a couple of years later that happens. It's like, I wish I could send that video to a friend over the internet, but the internet's too
Mm-hmm.
slow, and then a couple of years later that happens.
Yeah.
And I think that the learning process was different for us growing up. I feel like, just because we evolved with the technology, and now it just feels a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
People who are just now getting into motion graphics and can do GPU rendering right now,
Yeah.
man, it's so
They
great.
don't know how lucky they are. They
Yeah.
are lucky they
Yeah.
are. There are things that I'm still carrying with me. Like, it doesn't matter how much space I've got on my G RAID or whatever RAID I've got, I'm still very anxious every time I'm starting a project at something. I'm still worried about space in the hard drive. Although space is such a, you know, it's nothing to be worried about.
Yeah.
To summarize it, you don't need to worry about. It's so easy, it's so cheap, but I've still, I'm carrying with me those behaviors from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yeah.
think that we can appreciate it. I mean, I for myself, I remember going to bed with some very, very heavy user manuals printed in small letters, and reading everything and trying to understand and decipher without sitting near the application. Just, it was a completely different experience, like reading the book and then testing it out the day after,
Yeah.
if I was lucky.
Yeah.
VJ says, he's a high school teacher, and it astounds him how many students don't know anything about computers. It's interesting now because, just like my daughter, she's just into the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's just into
I
the
could see
phone,
that,
and so
yeah.
you just don't learn computers. She doesn't really know. She kind of understands like file
Interesting.
structure and stuff, but it's like a whole
Mm-hmm.
different thing. But yeah, I remember having those. I still have in storage somewhere some of those thick manuals and things from back in the day, because there was
You
just
would hold on to those.
there
wouldn't
was
you?
no way to get any information. You couldn't
Yeah.
go online and find it. You had those things were you held those close to you.
Gold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no
Yeah, I
other way to
remember
get
I've got a shelf with all the applications lying in the nice boxes. And I must appreciate the design that came, with all of these things, like, the packaging and all of the attention and the details and the colors. And I really like it. I much rather having those. Maybe it's just me.
Like a personal preference.
Personal preference, or just remembering the past and loving it. But all of those things that you can actually hold in your hands, you actually had. I mean, for me personally, the feeling that I can hold the
Yeah.
CD-ROM of
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
application it was, I felt like I own it. Although,
Right.
Right.
of course, it was never mine. and it was
Yeah.
never stable.
Yeah, you couldn't get those updates it was hard to get those.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I think that I spent most of my grown-up life before, reaching this stage behind the computer, babysitting it, and doing all of those, things that, to make it please work. And, I'm not going to go into this, but I have a lot of white knights suffering from Matrox drivers, for example.
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, do people even know what a floppy disk is? Yeah. Yeah, I saw a meme the other day that's it was talking about somebody's kid, and they had a floppy disk, and they're like, "Oh, look, Dad printed out he 3D printed
printed.
the save icon."
The save
No.
icon. Yeah.
Yeah, they just recently changed it in most of the applications, but you can still find the save icon using a floppy disk, which is iconic, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, so tell us the next step. How did you get to where you are now from
Yeah, and why leave being a flame artist? From what I understand, flame artists were very highly sought after and paid well.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
So there wasn't any problem in this department. I was actually earning very nice, and but the client just got up to my nerve. I couldn't stand them anymore. Just to be brutal and short. I was getting, because they are paying so much, they think that basically they are owning you.
Yeah.
So they
Yeah.
and they're right. They're correct. They're absolutely correct. Those are high-end commercials or visual effects, really at the edge of the cake, the pinnacle of visual effects are really expensive, still are, and I'm glad that there is a little bit of a differentiation to these days, but I couldn't I couldn't find myself working hours upon hours, taking instructions from people who are not my cup of tea or my
Right.
cup of coffee these days.
Mhm.
Actually, those days, this is today's cup of tea. I must, because I need to respect the queen and everything. But just to be on the serious side, I figure out I need to just take a break. So I took a couple of years figuring out what I want to do, and then I found out. Luckily, I got invited to teach at the university in Jerusalem.
Cool.
So it was the Hebrew University, for those of you who know or maybe heard about it, and there's a very famous institution, I guess one of the best one in the world. It's called Bezalel, and it's for graphic design. This is obviously now it's called visual communication because you need to market it better. But
Right.
back at the days, it was just called plain graphic design. So I was asked to teach some courses there. And then I started teaching software. So I started teaching, the things that I worked on, which was Photoshop, Illustrator, and combustion. Believe it or not,
combustion.
this was from me, it was an easiest way to go from the most expensive flame to some desktop application, which was more or less using the same tools. So I taught combustion for 4 years, I guess, and found a lot of joy in teaching people and students, and the way that they are using those tools are really unique, and I found out that this is something that I probably want to chase and continue doing. And at the same time, the internet became more and more popular. So I knocked on the door, metaphorically, of few websites, and nobody wanted my services, obviously. My English was even bad or worse than what it is today. So probably was the reason. But luckily, one of the doors that was opened was by my friend. These days, Aaron Rabinowitz, which you probably know. So he was working at Creative Cow, doing a weekly podcast about After Effects.
I didn't know
And we
that.
started, yeah.
That's funny.
Nice.
We started doing it together. So he did 1 week, I did the other one, and back and forth. I took a little bit of the labor from what he needed to do. So I freed up his time, and we did it for a couple of years, I guess, maybe 2 or 3 years. And just so you'll understand, everything was delivered 320 by 240 pixels.
Oh,
And then we got to raise it to 640. And I don't think that in my time it was ever HD, maybe 720. I can't
Yeah.
remember. So I was there for a couple of years, and at the same time, continuing with my mission to teach as I saw it, and left Jerusalem, went back to Tel Aviv, and started teaching in another university for 12 years, and finally became the head of the motion graphics department over there. So yeah, I'm just going to stop to breathe to let you guys insert a question. So I think that I'm just, giving you a too full answer now.
There was not any decent video online, like you were saying, the sizes and everything. It was just so hard to watch anything. So I mean, I was learning like things like, I think I learned nodes from Apple Shake, and that was, again, there's the manual, this thick manual for Shake, but it was, back then it was reading online, and you would follow along with the tutorial, but it would go through the steps and describe it all in words, and it would show like screenshots and things, and that's where I learned that. But I don't know, Matt, do you have any questions about that?
I think it's interesting that you jump to so many different programs, like flame to combustion, doing After Effects, and it's do you find that a lot of the, like, for example, with cinema, if you're jumping over to, like, say 3ds Max or Maya or Blender, a lot of the concepts are the same, and some of the names are the same. Did you find that switching over from different programs and stuff, there was a big learning curve, or were a lot of the concepts just like you just had to figure your way around the user interface?
Yeah, so a lot of things are very common, even with the visual applications or motion graphics. I mean, motion graphics is a relatively new term, so it wasn't existing back at the days. I mean, you may call it compositing of visual effects. Actually, people mistakenly call it special effects, although we both know it's not. So yes, there is a common ground, obviously, and terminology is more or less the same. It's not exactly the same because I know, for example, Avid has licensed a couple of their terminologies, like Match Frame back at the days was licensed by Avid for some time. But yes, I mean, you could really easily jump from one application to the other if you understood the principles. I mean, for me at least, it was making sense. Since I started my career at the press level, I forgot to tell you, but I was 4 years a designer for the biggest newspaper in Israel. It's called Yediot Ahronoth. Doesn't matter. Nobody knows the names here. Not in case from your crowd. But I was coming from the CMYK,
Right.
department or color mode. So this was actually, I mean, I found that this was a little bit more of a challenge from the way that I needed to rethink colors and all the other terminology, but all the other stuff like layers and alpha channels and mattes and basically the same things. The pen tool is the same pen tool across most of the applications.
Yeah.
Bezier is Bezier. Pierre Bezier, by the way, this is the name of the guy who invented it for Renault.
Pierre Bezier. Okay, so, I didn't know that.
The designer for Renault. Renault, this French company, they wanted to redesign the shape of the car. It was very cubical, so they hired this designer, Pierre Bezier, which helped them to just take the cubical shape and just create some nice, arcs. And since then, we are calling it Bezier. So here it is, a trivial fact which nobody cares about, but maybe
I care. That was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. So you click and hold, and then you get tangents, and then it's more or less the same thing. So once you get a hold of it in one application, the move to a different one, at least for me, was really obvious and natural.
Scott was asking in the chat, do you ever talk about Israel's huge contribution to the core of computer graphics? I'm not sure I even know what that is. Do
Yeah.
you?
I know that there is. I'm not sure exactly what it means, but there is like, you know, big community and industry in Israel for high tech. So they got couple of, you know, Apple got a very, I'm not sure if it's a secretive place, but, you know, a very impressive research and development team over there, which are doing a lot of work for the camera and for the VR stuff. I never talk about it personally because I'm not part of this thing, but I know of it, and there are a lot of people who are very talented. A lot of Microsoft technologies came up from Israel, from Ra'anana, for what it's worth, which is the city in Israel. So yes, the high-tech community there is flourishing for years now, and there are so many talented people. I think that the main engineer now who works at Apple, the one that just launched the M1 chip, is an Israeli guy, Johnny something. Can't remember his last name. Sorry, Johnny, if you hear me. So this is pride, obviously. I mean, a lot of sharp minds are coming from there. A small country in Asia.
He said it has something to do with the textile industry initially too. Interesting. I'm not sure.
Myself?
No, the contribution to
Apple got involved in
computer.
how to translate the
Oh,
data
maybe.
from the textile machines to a visualization process.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. All right.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm not aware of everything, so I'm just, you know, like a single truck mind that only concentrate on, you know, motion graphics, After Effects, and keyframes. I haven't heard about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I guess there was another question. I thought. Did I miss it?
Do you think
Oh yeah.
the term motion design is helpful rather than motion graphics?
I think it's just the way. I mean, yes, it's more sexy, obviously. So this is like, you know, you've got this. Obviously, this is an advantage. I think it's better describing the niche. We need to remember this is a niche within a niche. So we are thinking that we are the center of the world, but we are very, very small.
Very true.
And yeah, if we are comparing our industry to like the games industry, or
Yeah.
even the books and music, we are nothing. So yes, it's I think it's like, you know, when I'm looking at my past, like, you know, I used to print business cards. So every year I change my title and finesse it more and more and more until I got it completely right. So I think that this is like, you know, one of those things that better articulate what we are doing now. But, you know, it's the same thing. Like my father still, if you ask my father what I'm doing, he will probably say he's doing this Mickey Mouse thing. This is as far as he understands the Mickey Mouse thing. This is what it does. So, and it's very, very accurate in the way people are thinking about it. It's the Mickey Mouse thing. This is like, you know, the back to the basics. We are just moving stuff, making it look as realistic as possible, with as less work as possible, I guess.
Scott also wants to know if there's a comparable product now to Flame, or is it just considered like After Effects now? I mean, I know it's still around. Is there an advantage to using that stuff now?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they are selling it. I'm not exactly sure, but I haven't visited Autodesk website for a long time now. But from what I remember, it is a subscription-based model, like everything on Earth now these days.
Yeah.
So it is. It makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. It is with the right hardware, still running on Linux, I think. It is a beast. And it is much more capable machine in terms of, you know, if you compare it to After Effects. But it's a different way of thinking. It's a node-based compositor. The action model that they have there is miles ahead of the curve, if you ask my opinion. It's very similar to what Nuke can do in terms of, if you know, familiar with Nuke or Shake, which is something very similar, or Fusion. But I think Flame is still better. I think that Flame still has like, you know, better 3D to 2D, 3D and 2D integration tools. It's much more capable. And again, it feels like you are working with butter, not with pixels. So the way that it basically treats video is basically it projects everything on a 3D card, which is then can be manipulated using this bicubic system, and I'm not talking about the bicubic scale or what we are referring to as bicubic quality. It's a different way of thinking about how to create a grid and then manipulate the pixels inside within this. So they have, I think, the best projection system in the industry. Arguably, obviously, Nuke also have a very, very decent, if not, equivalent system. So yes, there is a sense to it, but again, it is a steep learning curve, and I'm not certain how many post houses are using it. Obviously, these days, when working with clients, I don't think that you can justify it because back in the days it used to cost almost like a house, so you need to take a mortgage.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's still $4,500 a year, and that's
which is
just
a lot of money.
Subscription. Yeah, that's a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
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 They are there on their ivory.
Ivory
tower.
Yeah.
Still there.
Yeah. What are you doing now? What is your day-to-day like?
So my day-to-day is I'm running my website, obviously. So I'm selling courses. I'm doing a lot of courses in my first language, which is Hebrew. Still keeping it updated to every version that comes out. So I'm offering full courses for Photoshop, Illustrator, Premiere Pro, and After Effects, which in all of these applications, I've got a master degree, an equivalent to a master degree. So I'm a master trainer in terms of Adobe education, which means that I can train you to be a trainer, just in case you're wondering what it means. And I'm also offering Cinema 4D courses in Hebrew. I'm not a master trainer in Cinema 4D by all means. I know my stuff, but I'm not at your level. So I'm trying to reach there. This is still a very deep pool for me. I'm working with cinema for 10 years now, and every day I'm discovering new stuff, and there are areas in the application that I probably will never touch. Scares me a little bit. But I really love the integration between all of these applications. So this is part of the things that I'm doing. I'm going to, let's say, call it 30%. I'm also doing a lot of online courses for LinkedIn Learning, what is used to be lynda.com, which is much less of a mouthful. So I've got more than 30 courses over there, and I have a very popular weekly series, almost continuing with the podcast that I did with Aaron Orbinovich. It's called After Effects Weekly. So every week there is a free After Effects short tip. And then, of course, if you want to watch the previous one, then you have to get a subscription. So this is weekly series, which really keeps me on my toes, on my not my knees, but on my edge, because I really need to come up with new or interesting ideas of tackling areas in the application. I'll try to keep it as short as possible. Not succeeding every time, but less than 10 minutes. I'm calling it a success for a tutorial, which is less than 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Which I know for a lot of people sounds like a very terribly long period. And then what else? I'm doing a lot of conferences online these days. So I have
you recently just did Adobe Max, right?
Yes, I did Adobe Max. I was actually number 3 on their chart. So from all the 350 sessions that they were offering, I came up number 3.
Nice.
Which was amazing. This was a really nice, and you can actually, if you want, if you missed it, you can catch this session. It was a 3-part lab about how to create basically an introduction for 3D logo and text animation in After Effects. So I'm not leaving After Effects, but I'm using Cinema
Illustrator
4D
as well, right?
Yeah, it's Illustrator. And the Cinema 4D engine to create, I'm stretching the After Effects capability to create transparency in 3D, which, it's a tough thing to create. So this was one thing that I did, doing the 3D motion stuff with Maxon. And I have a part-time job at Future Media Concept, where I'm helping them to create events like Adobe Video World or
Cool.
NAB or NAB New York, which
Mhm.
Yeah.
is the smaller version
Yeah.
of NAB, and other conferences alike. So yes, I'm one of the lucky people that my plate is still full even during these horrible pandemic days.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm really thanking God for this.
Yeah, I'm sad that I missed your presentation. I was all signed up a couple months ago, and I got an incredible stomach bug that day. It was so like terrible. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get up tomorrow. I'm gonna check this out, and nope, stomach wasn't having it. So I'm gonna have to catch another one of them. But
Oh, watch the recording. Everything
Yeah.
is being recorded these days. You can watch the recording. It's
Yeah.
edited. It's with less jokes, so I'm not going to
so
make you sit through the entire bad experience.
most of it is archived. Then we can go back and watch that,
Yes.
right? Cool.
It is.
Yeah, I feel really fortunate to have been able to get through this year somehow, in 2020. So, what do you think about NAB moving to October next
Yeah.
year?
Crossing my fingers that it will really happen.
That it'll
I-
actually happen. Yeah. I agree.
Yes, this is what I really think. I'm not sure if people will actually fly there. I mean, even if everything will be clear and open, we're just at the beginning of the vaccine statistics, I guess. It looks promising
Yeah,
Mhm.
according to the news, but we'll need to wait and see.
yeah,
I think that they are maybe too ambitious, but
yeah,
we need to just wait and see.
yeah.
Like NAB is a really big part of my training career. I've been to 21 shows,
Yeah.
except of the one, the 9/11 one. I've been to, from the moment that I could fly or somebody could sponsor me. I was there.
Sure.
At the beginning as an Autodesk representative, and then only as a teacher or educator.
Yeah.
So I really love NAB. It's a great party,
Yeah.
and
Yes, it is.
yeah, great party, great educational party, and
Yeah.
other parties as well.
Yeah.
It's such a great connection thing, and it's just so sad that it's you're not able to connect with people on the same level, even through Zoom meetings, even through
Yeah.
online conferences. It's just a different feel, and I hope that we don't lose that. I really hope that it comes back around, and that the people who are, I've probably said this before, but the people who are new to this industry, or were just getting into this industry when COVID happened, will be able to experience what that is, because
Yeah.
especially right now,
it's like half of what I think this industry is
Yeah.
going to meetups and meeting other artists and talking to them versus just like sitting down and doing work,
Yeah.
and everything being online.
yeah,
It's a whole nother facet that some of the people just getting into it don't know about yet.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely, and you must miss the monorail.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's always like it gives you that good 20 minutes on the monorail there every morning to
Right.
to sober up a little bit, and
Right.
Yeah, it's like
kinda-
a short gym, like 5 songs,
Right.
20 minutes,
Yeah.
and then you can go down or up the stairs. Escalator, of course, we're not really using the stairs, but who cares?
Let me ask you this, because as an educator, I wonder if you ever run into this issue, because I know when we were doing a lot of tutorials, like I would have a hard time coming up with an idea for a new tutorial, because I feel like once I had done that tutorial once, I didn't want to go back and revisit some of the same ideas over again, And if you're doing an After Effects weekly, like how do you come up with something new or something, fun in order to keep it engaging?
yeah,
Wow, this is a tough question. So first of all, when I pitched the series to LIL, LinkedIn Learning, just give you the abbreviations. I came up with 100 topics before even reaching to them. So I just wanted to
Nice.
make sure that I have a bank of stuff that I can, rely on. So I know it's not a complete solution, but basically gathering from all the corners of the internet, from the internet floor, basically, there's so much knowledge there that you can just, listen to or ignite your thoughts. So this is one thing. The other thing is get out of your comfort zone. So basically, this is called also a second degree change in psychology. So if you want, if you're trying very hard to come up with a topic for a tutorial, instead of working towards this, you need to just, go fishing, for example. And the idea will float. Sorry for the pun. But, something along those lines. So I'm trying to at least once a day, and this is becoming a little bit more challenging, obviously now, step out of the house and, fill my eyes with different sight, not just the 5K monitor that I'm staring towards now, right? So this is, things. I'm watching a lot of TV. I'm reading a lot of books. And then ideas come, hopefully. And my biggest inspiration, I know that you didn't ask exactly about inspiration, but I found that, you need to come up with some sort of a zone mode that, ideas can just, come up to you. So for me, it's music. Like, when I'm hearing music, a lot of ideas just come up to me. So basically, this is just a mixture between all of these things. Sometimes I do really actually visit old stuff that I did, thinking, how can I improve on it? Is it worth improving? Should I do a new version, or maybe I should just ditch it? And it's tough. I can tell you that there is a lot of time that I have a block, a void,
like a
or
creative block or something.
yeah, exactly. And I can't find anything. I need to refresh my mind or do some other stuff. I can also give you my maybe life hack in this department will be answer a lot of questions over at support groups over at Facebook or we don't have forums anymore because Facebook basically killed them. But support groups or whatever,
like
you're
Reddit
using Twitter or Reddit, exactly.
Yeah,
A lot
That's a
of
good
my
idea,
ideas came from people asking me questions or sometimes even stupid questions that, I didn't even thought that people don't know about, like, really, really basic stuff. So yeah, a lot of things are actually coming from first graders, I'm calling them, like people who are making their first steps. They have the best questions, and they really can shake the tree in terms of what you think you know about the application.
I've seen a
because
lot
they
of
don't
that.
know anything.
Yeah.
So they assume that everything.
So they don't
is
know the
possible.
limitations either.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They assume that everything is possible, and to counter that, of course, limit yourself. So try to do something like what I try to do with the Max logo, trying to create transparency without leaving After Effects. Now I know it's going to take me 2 minutes to do it in Cinema or in Element or in other solution, but I'm going to force myself to find a solution how to match it to what I'm visualizing and create it inside After Effects. So this is my 2 pennies or shillings. If you want to really go back.
Right.
Yeah, I try every once in a while to answer questions like that. I haven't been on Reddit as much lately, but things like the Facebook Cinema 4D group, you'll get a lot of brand new Cinema 4D users in there who are asking questions, and I think
Most
a lot
of
of
them, what kind of computer should I buy?
Right. But I think one of the things that you got to remember that these people are new, and not to get a big head about it if you've been in the industry for a really long time. There's people who, like, if you go to the Octane group, for example, if you're in the Octane group on Facebook, there's so many people in there. There's, gosh, it's like 30, 40,000 people in that group. And most of the posts you see in that group will be very, very high level, right? And people are asking very high level questions. And contrast that to the Cinema 4D group, I think you have a lot more new people in the Cinema 4D group, you know, and you'll see somebody will ask a question and some people just tear into them. And it's like, why are you tearing into somebody for asking a question like that? I mean, a good example, I think, is like somebody the other day, I think it was yesterday, asked the question, and I don't know if they were new or if they had been around or not, but they asked the question, I want to find a render engine that uses CPU and GPU. And it's like, okay, people are like, oh, well, Arnold will do that. There's a couple others that'll do that as well.
Cycles will do that.
But when everybody answered Cycles or Arnold, he said, no, that uses them both at the same time. And everybody's like, well, why would you want to do that? And I had to stop and think, well, maybe that person doesn't even realize that that may not be a good idea if you're using all your CPU and all your GPU at the same time,
Cycles
or if that's
doesn't.
or if that's, you know, going to affect you. And they may have. I mean, it's not a stupid question. I'm not saying it's a stupid question, but there are some issues that arise if you're trying to do that. It's like, well, first of all, I think somebody said you can't watch YouTube while you're rendering because your computer will be completely bogged down. But I think people sometimes word questions in a weird way in some of those. And so you kind of have to ask the questions that kind of rein in what, like, why are you asking this? And like, what is your end goal here? Like, are you, what's the reason for this? Just to really understand, instead of just immediately judging what they're asking and saying, well, that's dumb. You know, I see a lot of that, and I'm like, okay, let's actually go through this and answer your question and figure out why you want to do this and why you should or shouldn't do this, and just help people that are starting out. Like, there shouldn't be any dumb questions. And in fact, Reddit does that, or Reddit, well, the Cinema 4D subreddit does that. And I think Sage is in charge of that in particular, like the no stupid questions threads and things like that. So you really have to remember that there's always somebody new. And like Merlin Mann says, every day somebody is born who hasn't seen the Flintstones. There's there's people who are brand new to this. So just think back on where you were when you started and not knowing. I mean, I didn't know anything about video cards back in the day.
I mean, you also have to keep in mind, if you set that, if that precedent is set to where people don't feel like, if people don't feel like they can ask dumb questions, then as you grow as an artist, you're still going to feel like you can't ask dumb questions.
Right.
I can't tell you how often I ask what should be like noob level questions in our Slack because I just didn't know.
Right.
For example, like rendering out X particles in standard renderer. I had no idea how to do it.
Because you've never done it before.
Because I've never done it before. I've always done everything through Octane or Redshift. You know, you just add a tag and you're good to go. I had no idea that X particles had their own materials, you know? But it's like, I've been in cinema for so long. It's like, and that seemed like a noob question. And it kind of was, but, you know, sometimes I get worried that, oh, I'm supposed to be a quote unquote professional, that I get worried that I can't ask those questions as well.
Right. Because you don't want to be like laughed at.
Right, exactly.
But you should
feel
comfortable.
You know, Matt, what is like, you know, my favorite thing to do sometimes when I'm like, you know, dry and don't have any ideas, I'm trying to figure out a topic that I think that I'm masterful. Like, you know, I know everything about it and I'm going to watch a tutorial about it. And I'm always amazed about things that I thought I knew. And I'm actually learning, you know, basic stuff that I assume that, you know, and there's like, you know, I can actually remember a few of aha moments when tackling these things that I thought that I know everything about, and then watching another person explaining it in his own way or her own way, doesn't matter, and find out, oh, actually, this makes much more sense now. And then when I'm teaching, I always remind myself, I'm calling it the American way of assume nothing. You need to assume that your audience doesn't know anything that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, it's always a good thing to explain everything, which also makes the tutorial much longer.
Yeah.
But at least you know that you are doing a thorough work.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's hard to find that sometimes, and and you've done this too in designing a presentation for someone like Maxon. So to present, sometimes it's like, oh, is what I'm doing not high level enough to be a Maxon presentation or something, right? And you have to step back and think, when you go to NAB, there's going to be a mixture of people there. There's going to be some that are completely brand new. There's going to be some people that really want to see, oh, let's look at that node tree in Redshift or something, right?
Right.
But some people are like, I don't know what a node tree is to begin with.
Right.
It's hard to do, and it's also hard. It's been hard for me personally to come up with ideas. The further and more advanced the Mograph industry gets, because I feel like everything has been done. Even when it comes to doing a daily, I feel like everything's been done. And also, it's harder for me because I don't feel like I'm in the industry in the same way I used to be. Matt and I used to work for a place, and it wasn't necessarily like a high-end place, but I was always getting ideas for a tutorial because we were trying to do this thing or trying to do that thing, trying to figure these things out.
We were also newer in the industry as
Oh, yeah.
well. So that, like, when I discovered Luma and Alpha Mats and After Effects, first thing I did was go make a tutorial about it, you know?
And it's like, if you're
You learn when you teach.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you're in it. And these days, it's like the work that I do and the work that Matt and I both do. A lot of the things are, some of them are for the real, but some of them are for the meal, and it's nothing new. It's nothing where I had to learn something new to do. It's like, okay, this is just to get a paycheck. So I'm not getting those complex problems. But what that does, though, when you have to figure something out, is it allows you to say, oh, look, I figured this out. And then just by default, our community in general is so great about sharing these things. The first thing everybody seems to want to do is to be like, look at this cool thing that I figured out. You know, and I want to share that with everybody. It's so great that it's not like other industries where people just want to hoard that information.
Hoard the information for
So
themselves.
so how do you I mean, you talked about how you get those new ideas and things, but how do you progress? You know, are you doing
That's a good idea.
client stuff? Are you how are you progressing in your learning besides teaching, I guess?
Yeah, so always trying to keep a passion project in the background. This is what I learned always. This is also showing me how much I don't know, because I need to figure the things out. And sometimes I can monetize out of it if it comes decent enough. So this is one thing. I also try to take client work, but very, like, moderated. So very, very, only things that really makes me happy.
Yeah.
And things that I really like to do, or things that, I was approached by the Manchester Underground train to create some sort of a project, which was awesome. I mean, most of it was basically just, graphic design solutions, not even animation, but it was so not my forte, like, my comfort zone, which is, things that I really, I mean, all the things that I fell in love with were at the beginning were not my comfort zone. The things that I reacted passionately about, like, I wanted to do things like this. And this is exactly why I think that there is still a gap, which I found a little bit frustrating, between what I'm seeing out there, because, people are doing amazing work. And it's not just people. I mean, when I'm comparing the things that I'm watching on the TV, obviously theater, not a lot of new releases out there, but even the last year, and to what I can create, the gap is still huge. And the thing is, I'm talking about it just because a lot of my clients think that if they are, and by client I mean students, if they are going to buy a course or take one of my courses, they're going to be able to reach this level. And there is like this gap of things. And Ira Glass, he spoke about it. Probably heard his talk. There is also a Vimeo clip about it when he speaks about the gap between what you think what you want to create and what you think about your work in your mind and what you can actually create. So this gap is also and always a fruitful ground for me to create. So yes, I take client work, but moderately, and I'm doing passion projects and answering questions. This is how I try to progress and basically try to concentrate more about the things that I love to do and less about things that I need to do. So try to juggle, wiggle between these.
So what do you have coming up next? Do you have any passion projects you're working on or new courses or?
So yes, there are like a couple of things that I'm doing. I mean, I'm teaching this preparation class for Adobe for getting an After Effects certification. So this is something that I finished developing. I actually did a couple of them, and now it's going to be running like for the entire year. So hopefully each month I'm going to teach one class. This is a full day training. So at the end of the day, my promise to you is that if you'll take the test, you will pass. That's it, as simple as possible. And it's a little bit of a nasty test because it's not just it's not just about how to know After Effects and what buttons to push. It's motion graphics with After Effects. So you need to know a lot of things in terms of licensing and animation principles and a lot of theory. So I'm really proud of this project, and hopefully this is also going to benefit some dollars or pounds. Another thing that I'm doing these days is developing a training for Adobe. This time I'm not going to record it. I'm just going to do to create the curriculum and to design the course. It's going to be a very intense. Not intense is not the right word. Something I'm trying to find the word. It's for Premiere Pro, and it's going to approach novice users and hopefully take them through all the important stations in the application that Adobe think are important. And I have to agree because they are the commissioner here. So yes. And then at the end, they will know how to use the software, but it's more than what you will expect to find on the internet floor in terms of, free tutorials.
Yeah.
It's also
More
going
like
to
a
be
deep dive.
Yeah, it's some sort of a deep dive. I guess this is the right terminology. And it's going to be recorded in 5 or 6 different languages.
Wow.
So it's a huge project. So this is something that I'm working on these days. So yeah, trying to also create some, passion project at the same time, but to be honest, nothing is really happening in this department these days because I was so busy with like 3 conferences and the things that I talked to you about. So when there was like, money in the basket, it just pushes away the fun stuff. But I'm trying to enjoy this as well.
How do you go about doing the multiple languages? Is it over? Well, first of all, who's doing the multiple languages? Do you know 5 languages? Are you doing 5 languages, or is it?
I wish.
Okay.
I only know 2 and not so good as you can hear. No, actually, I speak very, very fluent Hebrew. So yeah, for what it's worth. Anyhow, so no, they are going to hire a local instructor in Korean or or from Germany or from Spain or from whatever, Japanese, I guess. And I'm going to tutor them. So I'm basically creating the model, the structure, the course with all the materials. I need to make sure that it can be translated to all the languages. And then we are going to probably give them the English version so they can see what they want to be. This is going to be the master one. And once it's going to be signed on or signed off, then they can record their own version. And this is going to be a localized version which is not going to be exactly the same. So I want to leave room for each one of those different speakers or teachers.
Teaching styles and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it will be a little bit more personal and not exactly like, structured, sorry, as I'm seeing it. But I have a very clear vision about what they need to do in each and every lesson. And it's a really challenging project, I must
I
say.
bet.
We're developing a course right now that's going to be in English and Spanish, and that's what we're trying to figure out right now is which way to go about that. It is the same instructor, so we don't have to worry about teaching style or whatnot, but we're like, okay, is this going to be, are you going to go back and overdub your own voice, or are
Yeah.
you going to record each one of these twice? And
I suggest that he will record it twice. It will
Yeah.
be much more natural. From experience, I'm saying.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I have some experience in multi-language, so I know how it looks. I mean, it may look like less effort, but at the end of the day, my advice will be to just re-record it, even if it's the
Yeah.
same person doing it all over again.
Yeah.
when you do these, are they offered separately? Like, would you, if you wanted it in all languages, do they all come with the one class, or do you buy the one that goes with your?
No, this is sponsored by Adobe, so everything is going to be offered for free.
Nice.
It
Oh,
will
okay.
include the exercise files. So we actually commissioned some, we shot some special things for this series all over the world, actually, from Amsterdam, here in London. You can guess who did this part. From Tel Aviv, from New York. So we've got tons of great footage, very high quality. We figure out that it will be better and even probably in its best quality to do it on our own and not rely on even Adobe stock, because when you are doing this kind of a project, you want everything to be in the same camera with the same lighting condition,
Yeah.
trying to give some narrative to the footage and not just mishmash the whole thing into some some storyline. So this is going to be offered for free. I guess part of it will be, or maybe all of it will be at the Adobe YouTube channel. I'm not sure exactly how it will be delivered, but it's going to be more or less similar to what Blackmagic is offering with their DaVinci Resolve training website. But it's not going to be exactly the same. I'm not going to copy them, obviously.
Right.
They're just giving 2 hours of one big master tutorial. We are going to slice it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But the idea behind it is it's educational. It's going to be free for everyone, including a very high quality exercise files. Maybe even a book, we'll see.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think it's redundant, in my opinion. I think
Yeah.
that if you're doing a video tutorial, you don't need a book. You don't need
Yeah.
a workbook
Yeah.
to follow.
Some
along.
people learn differently each
I
way.
know.
You know,
Yeah.
like y'all are talking about going back and reading books as you were learning. That's not how I learn.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have been able. I would not have been in this industry had it not been for tutorials teaching me how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
can see the reason why it's beneficial when you're teaching in class and you've got maybe 100 people who are following you. I mean, this is my personal experience when speaking over at Adobe Max. So a workbook is very beneficial to these circumstances because sometimes, people are ahead of you. Sometimes people are just, few pages after. But when you're on your own from your comfort of your house on your laptop or whatever you are working with this, a tutorial and maybe another screen with the application should be enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, we want to ask you a little bit about some of your favorite things and Mograph recommends here. First, we're going to go to some links. Number one is, number one, Lights Camera Render.
Lights, camera, renderer.
This is Adobe.
School
Oh,
of
where's
Motion's new
School of Motion's course with David Ariev.
David Ariev. It's all. Go ahead.
Man, I'm so excited about this. We teased when he was on the show, but he really couldn't say much yet about this.
Yeah.
And I've seen some of I think maybe the first 6 pieces of this. So excited about this. There's there's a video that talks about what the course is about and sign up and everything on their site. But there's also a live podcast that was on the other day, which I stopped by to say hi real quick, but I was in the backyard working on a patio, so I didn't get to stick around. So I need to go back and watch David and EJ discuss what's going to be in the class. Yeah, the Shotgun says lights, camera, Jesus. Octane Jesus. So that's super exciting. We've been chatting about it so much when we play Halo, and you know,
it's crazy seeing a lot of the work that he's been putting together for this.
Yeah,
like it's been a lot of work, and seeing the quality of stuff that he's been producing specifically for this is just I mean, you don't get half-assed when you are learning from Ariev.
Yeah,
he full asses everything.
Yeah, he is very meticulous about it.
He is very,
you know, we know how much and so how hard he's been working on this all year, because he sends this our Halo group some updates and things and talks about what he's doing, and then when we're all sitting there poning noobs on Halo, or being noobs and getting pwned, we get the updates on the ups and downs of his struggle to you know, just get this sheer amount of work done. Sometimes it's a lot of work, so if we know how hard he's been working. Yeah, it is. I can barely maybe get to my course, like I feel like one day a month, and I don't know how he's doing it, but it's really exciting, and I can't wait to see the finished product. The renders are just freaking amazing, so make sure you check that out. Links to all this stuff in the show notes. Also, let's see if I can pronounce this correctly. Myron Dilburovic made this. I have no idea if that's right. This Spidey animation is done in Redshift. It's on the Facebook Redshift group, and I'm going to put a link in it. You got to check this out. It's so great. That's cool. That's all I have to say about that. Maybe we can do an interview at some point, because I would love to hear more about it and the breakdown. Also, a heads up, no link yet because it's not quite out, but Mitch Meyer's Planet Pack 2 is coming out December 1st. So make sure that you look for that. We'll put a link in there when it comes out. Maybe we can get him on the show. It's been a long time since we've talked to Cool Fire. Cool Fire. And also the most comprehensive reconstruction of the Beirut port explosion. This was posted by, Phil, Raid Zero posted this breakdown. I mean, it's not his, but he posted a link to it, and that's where I saw it. They took all the video, all the photos, all the information about the explosion, and they recreated in 3D like the warehouse and where the different things were placed in the warehouse. And it was it's interesting to see. It's just incredible circumstance, and just I don't know how to describe it. Everything went wrong. Everything that went wrong in this, like ammonium nitrate storage with fireworks in another area, and people not taking care of the warehouse properly, following protocols. And then it also shows like how they reconstructed it. It's just absolutely incredible to see how they did this. So check that out. Also, if you haven't seen the Cyberpunk 2077 music video, No Save Point, yet, wow. Pretty killer stuff. They got it behind the scenes. So make sure you check that out. I think the behind the scenes is on Twitter. A breakdown that David Ariev posted from the Queen's Gambit, which, according to what I heard this morning, Queen's Gambit is like the highest rated show on Netflix that they original series so far. It is so good. I'm gonna go watch it again. It's so good.
I had such a hard time with the first episode.
Oh man, go.
I wasn't in the mood for something slow, I guess.
It's not that slow.
It was pretty slow.
If you get into it, it's not that slow, but it gets really good. And just enjoy the cinematography. You know? I mean, just enjoy all of it. It's it's so good. Like I don't even know really why, but it's just so good. It's everything, I guess. The writing, the just every shot that they did. There's so much that is in it that you don't even realize is VFX or compositing or anything. Just so good. Everybody,
And
yeah,
you don't need to know chess to enjoy it, which
right,
is brilliant.
yeah.
That's good.
It's almost like you really do learn a lot about
Yes.
chess by watching it, you know. So if you don't know chess, you'll learn a lot about it. And yeah, the story, the acting, everything about it. And a lot of these actors, they're not new actors, but they're not as well known actors. There is that one guy from Harry Potter in it, right? He's in Harry Potter.
Which one?
Uh,
There's like Harry Potter has
I don't
basically
remember
every
his
British
name
actor ever
offhand.
in it.
You'll recognize him, but check it out. It's so good. And everybody wants a part two, but it's one of those things where this was obviously from a book back in the day, and the author is dead. So if there is going to be a season two, I think they have to talk to the estate. I think they have to
Oh,
make sure that that person's estate is okay with it, and that that they're very comfortable with it. They haven't ruled it out, and it is kind of it is final in the end, but you could see it going to a season two if they could figure out a good way to do it. You know, because I would really like to know more about what happens to this character after this. You know, but
And she became blonde.
yeah,
Became blonde.
I know. Oh man, they are so popular right now. All the actors right now. It's just
Yes.
there's so many
Top of
videos.
the game. They're great.
Yeah.
Really great. Great performance.
Yeah.
Great acting. Great cinematography. Everything is great there.
Yeah, and it's something that Ariev talks about a lot is go watch it, and then if you're gonna watch it again, go watch it for a different reason. Go watch it with even with the sound off, or watch it and really think about each scene and what you're seeing in each take. Why are they doing this camera? This is stuff that's in his course, by the way. Why are they using this camera move? Why is this handheld? Why is this not handheld? Why are they using these colors? Why is this framing the way that it is? If you go watch it the second time around like that, you really learn a lot about cinematography. And of course, that's going to help you when you're creating things in 3D. You know?
Right.
So, a couple more things that I've got here in the links. Number 5 on here, I think, is toxic labor practices at Mill Film led a VFX worker to commit suicide, coworker alleges. So I just wanted to put this out there. Of course, this is alleged, but check it out, because what it's talking about is there's some sort of contract that, and if this is true, and if this is true kind of in bulk with a lot of different companies in the industry, I think this is something that needs to be looked at, which is if you get into a toxic work environment and you're in a contract that says that you will have to pay money, pay a fine or a fee if you quit, then I don't think that really should be happening. The problem is if you get in, like, I understand contractors and freelancers, they go from place to place a lot. Some people will not necessarily stay at a company for a long time. So what happens is these big studios are like, we want to hold on to the good people that are really good at what they do. And so they get a contract and they're like, no, you have to stay here for X amount of time or do this or face the consequences, right? But if you agree to that, which you shouldn't, but if you agree to that and then you're in a toxic environment and you have no way out, I mean, that's not a good place to be. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just kind of following that right now because it is kind of an alleged thing, and I don't think all the facts are out there, and I want to know more about it. But yeah, you should never be in the position where you're doing so much work and working 80 hours a week and there's no way out and you commit suicide. I mean, that's awful. Like, if this is the situation, if this is where it's going, if labor standards are not held accountable, for, these studios aren't held accountable in any way, shape, or form, I don't think that's good for our industry at all, obviously.
I agree.
So, and then the two last ones here, Mocha Pro 2021. Make sure you check that out. It looks to me, in the advertising that I saw from it, that they're really trying to concentrate on things that are similar to Lockdown.
Oh,
You know?
interesting.
So check that out. And then lastly, Xbox Series launch trailer. Make sure you check that out. Sakani Solomon actually posted it. That's where I saw it, and
Power
it is
mesh.
an amazing launch trailer. It was done very well. So I think that's it. I had a lot of links
Yeah,
this time around. I don't.
because we had Beeple last week.
Yeah, I had to push all the links because it was just, we had way too much to talk about. It was off the rails
Yeah.
anyway. I didn't want to go into all those. But so let's go to Mograph recommends. And we're going to ask you some of your favorites in all these different categories because it gives us a really in-depth look at your background.
It's
and
interesting to know people's background,
Yeah.
but once you know their likes and dislikes, I feel like it opens it
Yeah.
shows us more about who you are.
Yeah.
And we can then go to an official date.
Yeah. And these are things that could be either something that you're really into right now. Like if somebody asked me, what's your favorite television show right now? I'd be like, oh, Queen's Gambit, right? But
Yeah.
I'm not going to say, okay, like if Breaking Bad is my favorite overall, that's a completely different story. Cue Kevin in the chat if he's
Right.
watching today. But we will start with your favorite movie.
Of all times.
It could be, and in this, no, actually, this could be all time or recent. We're giving you the
Okay.
option.
Recent, there aren't too many, so yeah, probably the Spider-Man. What was
Into the
name?
Spider-Verse.
Yeah, it's just blew my mind. But it's not. It's actually his cousin. My favorite movie is Superman the movie, I guess,
Okay.
from
Nice.
1978, the Richard Donner version, the lengthy one, the one that starts with the comics and everything. I just, I remember watching it as a kid. I was 8 years old. My father took me to the cinema. And we were watching we were set in the high places. It's not a mezzanine. It's just a little
Balcony.
Balcony.
the balcony. That's
Yeah.
that's the correct term. And I blew. It was jaw dropping. I dreamt about this movie for almost a year. A year. All I wanted was a blanket with Superman, a T-shirt with Superman, and everything that goes around Superman. And then I've watched this movie a couple of times during the years, and every time that I'm watching it, three obviously famous actors are not with us anymore, but I think that for what it's worth, Christopher Reeve is the best Clark Kent ever.
Yeah.
In history. I
I
obviously he's a great Superman, but the way that he acted there,
Yeah.
and this movie has affected me in so many levels. Obviously, I dreamt that I can fly. So this is just I can talk just about this movie for half an hour, but if I need to pick another one, it will obviously be Judgment Day, and I know that you spoke about
So
this
good.
a couple of times, and the
Yeah.
fact that
Dave's never seen it.
I
Yeah.
know. I need to
So
watch it.
I'm going to spoil a little bit of it for you, if you will.
I mean,
if
I
you
know,
will
I
allow.
know everything about it. It's
Okay.
like, it's. I shouldn't be upset
mo-
if somebody spoils, an old
It's
movie.
not really a spoiler. It's not. It's just something that always blew my mind. It was released in 1991, and I think it runs around a little bit more than 2 hours, something along those lines. And the visual effects is still stands to this day. I mean,
Absolutely.
it cost a couple of millions to do it, and 35 people worked on it in total of 25 many years work. Now, this is all known fact, but the thing is that the CGI sequences only total for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
If you just
Oh,
stitch
yeah.
them together. So it's just brilliant way in terms of the direction and everything in terms of how James Cameron treated this movie. So those are going to be the most top or two movies that really influenced me. But there are, of course, more. Those are just the one that comes to mind now.
Now, what
I
do
feel
you
like
what do you think about
I feel like a lot
Superman
of people
3?
say.
Sorry, you were
Oh.
stereophonic for a
Sorry.
moment.
Superman 3. What do you think about Superman 3?
Richard Donner, Superman. Not Richard Donner.
Richard
Richard
Pryor.
Pryor.
You know,
Pryor.
I don't know why. Like, it's
Yeah.
so goofy, but I don't know why. I've always loved that movie since I was a kid.
I obviously have the trilogy, so all the three first Superman in like one case
Yeah.
of DVD with all the bonuses and stuff. So I watched this movie a couple of times, and I still to this day I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's part of the trilogy. This is what I can say.
Yeah. I like the
you
computer
can-
stuff in it when as a kid. That's
there's
why.
brilliant ideas there, like the way he chased the missile and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Brilliant ideas, poorly executed. You can actually see the wires in some parts,
Yeah.
which
That's funny.
really destroyed it for me. As a kid, I haven't really saw this because it was like poor VHS quality.
Right.
But being a little bit more looking for these details, it was really a spoiler. And you can also see some sweat under his suit when he lands at a couple of locations. Again, Superman can sweat. Come on.
Yeah.
It breaks the illusion.
And you
Yeah,
can see
I
like the
think so.
outlines, even in some of the
Yes.
part 1 and 2, you can see the outlines around the plates and things. You know,
Yeah.
when they're floating around in the 2D like thing in outer space, when they're captured in it. You know what I'm
Still,
talking
it's
about?
got the same music and the theme. You can actually hear. You can hear the orchestra sings the letter. So when the S comes on screen, you can actually hear it. Superman. This is
Oh yeah.
the way I imagine it. It is so brilliantly done. The way that John Williams, treated this. So it's everything comes together. It just melts my mind again. Makes me emotional.
I think with Terminator 2, Judgment Day, I think a lot of people either go to that as a go-to or Jurassic Park, both around the same time, early 90s. And I feel like that was a big influence on a lot of us, was either Terminator 2 or Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I was, grown enough to understand what I'm actually watching, so I could appreciate it as coming from as one person that comes from this wannabe in this industry.
Yeah.
Now, what about music? What do you listen to?
Oh, music. This is a difficult question. I mean, I used to be a DJ for a long time, so I still
Nice.
have my Technics 1200 turntables downstairs and tons of maxi singles from the 80s. So I can again talk hours and hours. So, but I have a great, or what I consider to be a priceless new wave maxi single collection from the 80s. And I still find myself listening to it a lot of the time from the vinyl. Obviously, I've got everything digitally mastered and without all the clicks and the pops.
Yeah.
But it's not the same experience. So just to name a few bands, will be Yazoo, New Order, Blancmange, Thompson Twins, everything that Trevor Horn touched. So Frankie Goes to Hollywood, followed by Art of Noise and Propaganda. And again, the cover art for all of this is simply amazing. So I think these are the first time when I was 12 years old or 13 years old, when I actually identified good typography and I understood what it meant. The way that they designed the name back at that days, I'm not sure how it is today because I'm not following pop music anymore. But each one of the bands had its own logo, right? So you can identify the band or the singer using a typographic creation. which is just great. So all of this, and I'm a big fan of Police and Madness,
Mhm.
just to name a few more. So this is, still appearing in my playlist.
Yeah.
But I hear a lot of our stuff, a lot of our stuff.
Did you
the list
see
is
Mark Osborne's that claymation video back in like 2000, I think it was, or maybe 98 ish? It was called More, and it was set to Song by New Order. It's
I
like
think I did. I think
it's
it rings
black
a
and
bell.
white.
I can't really imagine it, but
Oh,
I've seen
yeah, it's-
everything
okay.
New Order has to offer, so probably I've seen it.
It's like gray world, super gray world.
It is.
Claymation.
It's classic claymation. Like, I mean, I saw this a long time
The
ago.
goggles that he
when it came out.
wears.
Yeah. And so like he creates these VR goggles and it makes the world just like through rose-colored glasses and stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it helps him feel better about the world because he's working in a dead end job, and then
Yeah.
it kind of comes full circle in the end because he invented those goggles, and then now he is the CEO of this giant corporation, and he's whipping everybody into shape to produce these goggles, and he becomes what
The thing that
the thing he
hated,
hated
yeah.
in the end.
Wow,
It's
it
very
sounds so
interesting.
familiar, but then again, I can't really put my finger on it. I need to recheck it.
I
Yeah.
bet you
Thank you
it,
for this
yeah.
wonderful. The thing with admiring the 80s is that nothing new comes out. So thank you
Mhm.
for pointing this to me. A new thing from the 80s or the 90s, I'm going to squeeze it in that
Sure.
I somehow missed.
Yeah, I'll put it in the show notes. I just put it in our chat if you want to watch it in a bit. So,
Brilliant. I will.
yeah.
Not now, but I will.
Yeah. All right, let's see. Next on the list is TV show. What's your favorite TV show?
Again, there are so many, but I'm just going to name probably few from the recent years. So one of them is Tales from the Loop. You
Mm-hmm.
can find it on Amazon Prime.
Yep.
It's based on an art book by this Swedish artist, Simon Slanghang,
Oh, I've
something
heard
like this.
such good things about this. Yeah.
Oh my God. The way that they manifest this Soviet 70s, but yet sci-fi look,
Mhm.
which looks somewhat modern, but very old. The visual effects are just integrated into the story so well. And
Mhm.
each one of the episodes is really, really, I mean, each one is directed by a different director. So Joseph Foster was one of them, and there are a couple of others. Sorry, I can't remember every one of them, but
All right.
it really, I mean, you need to watch an episode a day and then reflect on it. This
Yeah.
will be my suggestion. It's really, really inspiring. And again, along the same lines, the dark version of Back to the Future, which is dark in Netflix. It's a German 3 series. So 3 seasons, I guess. We are
What's
calling
it called?
series. Dark.
Oh, dark.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
I mean, watch it in German if you can. There is an
Okay.
English dubbing if you like, but it's just destroy everything.
Yeah. It's
And
yeah.
without doing any spoilers, it's really the dark version of Back to the Future. So think of Back to the Future really, really twisted,
All
really
right.
twisted,
Okay.
Yeah.
with a lot of surprises and a plot that you can barely follow after a couple of episodes. But I was magnetized to it. Again, the art, the way the story goes, the actors, it's really something which is different from all the other stuff that I've seen. Both
Mhm.
the Tales from the Loop and Dark is very common, darkish visuals there. But again, everything is justified. There's not a single shot which is just there for the sake of effects, and the
Right.
effects are brilliant. It's a German and Canadian production made partly in Germany, partly in Canada. Really, really well. You can catch it on Netflix.
Cool.
And it's 3 seasons, and that's it. They are telling the entire story. It's closed you don't want it to continue. That's it. It's perfect.
All right.
Nice.
You sold me.
Yeah, I gotta check it out now.
I'm trying. I'm giving you the full pitch.
That's one thing I like about this. The Mograph recommends is that I get so many good recommendations for TV shows.
Yeah. And what about podcasts? If you listen to podcasts.
Yeah, I think that you need to change the podcast question to maybe your favorite YouTube channel.
Oh,
that
that's a
works.
good one.
That
Okay.
works.
Yeah.
I'll give you both for the same amount of money that you are paying me. So I used to listen. I mean, first I'm listening to a daily podcast which is in Hebrew, but it's not going to relate to any of your viewers, so I'm not going to even mention it. It's some humor podcast which really crank me up. So this is just to keep my good spirit before I'm going to sleep. I've got like an exact hour, 11 p.m. between 11 and midnight. I'm devoting an hour to laugh every day.
All right.
And every day I'm succeeding. And if for some reason I'm tired, I'm going to catch it the next day. So it's a daily thing. 5 days anyhow, doesn't matter. So just find something that makes you laugh. This is the conclusion. But there is, or there was a podcast that I was listening to. It's called Making History. Again, there was an English version and an Hebrew version. It's some sort of a science and history podcast. I think the current one, or the most equivalent current version that I found, was Revisionist History by Malcolm Gladwell or something along those lines. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing him correctly. But it's like tiny stories from the history of humankind, which nobody knows about, but really makes you think about how people are, influenced by great decisions or like things that we are taking for granted. For example, building tunnels underneath rivers. Who came up with this idea, and how many times they failed before? And the story about the father and the child that it's just running in the family. Or there's there was an episode about this glass museum. It's a museum right now in Boston, in Harvard, about this father and son that they died with the technology of how to create vegetables and all of this kind of stuff for the purpose of teaching, but no one knows how they did it, and it's just telling you all the bits and pieces about it. So this is it. Revisionist History, Malcolm Gladwell.
Cool.
Very interesting. And YouTube channel, because you didn't ask for it, but here it is as a bonus. There is a great YouTube channel called TechMoan. It's run by this British guy from Manchester called Matt. And he's basically showing you stuff from the 70s, good old electricity stuff. It can be a boombox from your past, or it can be some obscure vinyl record or whatever. He's got more than 1 million followers now. These days I'm following him from the early days. And I really I have this tendency and magnetism to this old tech, which I really loved as a young kid. Obviously being a DJ and chased after good hardware, and they are not doing it the same way they did back in the 70s and 80s. So, this stereo hi-fi gear. So TechMoan, check it out if you're into these things.
Cool.
Okay.
Now, what about favorite plugin? I think this is gonna be a good one.
I actually thought about it. So there are there are obvious choices, and there's the one that I actually use. Right. So the most used plugin by me is not you may be surprised, but it's actually After Codec, which is an extension to After Effects, which allows you to save an MP4 file without going to the long journey of using Adobe Media Encoder. So this is my most used plugin, but my most loved plugin is an extension. It's by Battleaxe. It's Overlord. And this is the missing link between Illustrator and After Effects. This should be built into the application, as far as I'm concerned.
But, I agree.
It is so good.
It's amazing. Yeah.
It's amazing. I'm using it almost every time that I'm opening After Effects, and I'm opening After Effects a lot. So, and there are also the obvious ones, Real Smart, Motion Blur, Trap Code, all of those things, elements. Use them, love them.
What about headphones? I think this will be a good one. You're kind of an audiophile, right?
I am an audiophile. So I've got, again, I need to think about which one will be my number one, and I'm just going to show it to you. These guys. These
nice.
are the Sennheiser Momentum.
They're pretty.
This is the wireless edition, but they are coming in all sorts of flavors. And I will argue that these have the best sound to my audiophile ears. Really love the Sennheiser attention to details and the foam, and it's just brilliant. The way you need to actually plug them, not use them as a wireless headphone, obviously, to enjoy the full spectrum of what they have to offer you. And then every time I'm putting something else on my ears, doesn't matter if this is the Sony or the Bose or the Klipsch or the Jabra, and I have all of these, but I've chosen to show you the Sennheiser. I think that Sennheiser has the edge.
They look very classic too. They have a very classic look.
They look great, and I'm just going to show them again for those of you who are watching the live feed. And
that is great. Yeah. That's the way that they slide up and down. That is a very classic headphone.
And they also fold.
Yeah,
that's nice.
A bonus.
Yeah.
This is the newer version.
The leather.
One didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the leather, real leather.
Yeah.
So you can actually run with them, sweat with them. You can boost Superman with them, and they're still alive.
Now, what about your favorite go-to app on your phone? What's your muscle memory app?
It must be Filmic Pro.
Oh yes, I'm loving that. It takes some great the amount of options that you have.
Oh my god!
And now you can do 2 cameras at once, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's really amazing. I mean, the way that you can control the bit rates, focus, exposure, aspect ratio, frame rate.
Yeah.
Audio, arcs, everything, even comes with flat log curve, histogram, and clean HDMI if you want to use it as a wireless, not wireless,
like an ISO camera or
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You can do it, and everything is baked into the camera app. Compared to the original, and I think you can now get it for both the iPhone and Android. It's $15 like this.
Yeah.
But everything is being controlled from the app itself. So this always bothered me with the camera app on the iPhone, that you need to go to the settings and then go to the camera.
Oh yes.
And then choose your frame rate or
whatever. And your resolution.
Instead of doing it from the camera, I mean, I'm already shooting stuff. Why do I need to go out there? So it is my go-to, and it's amazing what you can achieve with iPhones these days.
Yeah.
So this is like my go-to tool.
And your life hack, I think you already did your life hack basically. What were we talking about? I can't remember.
I'll give you another one.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll give you another life hack.
All right.
So I think it's very simple. I mean, I found myself moving houses a lot the last couple of years. So my life hack will be the 3M Command Picture Hanging Stripes.
Okay. Oh yeah.
I sound like an Amazon commercial here, but it is one of the best hassle-free stripes to hang pictures. And since I have so many pictures which I need to take out and then hang again without hurting the walls and damaging the surfaces for my landlord to be angry.
Right.
This will be, I mean, I have like stocks of this thing. It's amazing. I'm using it for, it's like WD-40. I'm using it for different purposes.
Right.
From what you're supposed to use it. Or even fixing stuff in the toilet, for everything.
That's funny.
I'm sold.
Nice.
That's funny.
I think I've messed with one of those a couple times, but I'll have to rethink that next time I want to hang something. Try it out.
It's a premium glue, by the way. It's expensive. It's not goes. Maybe now Black Friday will have some good deals, but it's good. It's good. You get what you paid for.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Cool. Well, we appreciate you being on today, taking the time. Where can people find you online on the different platforms if they want to check you out?
So yeah, my website. Obviously, my handle is @SternFX. Instagram is Eran_Stern, and everything is being. You can go to my website and then scroll down to the footer. There is such things as a website still. And all the links are there, so they can find me. And of course, over at LinkedIn Learning. So the best place to see my courses, and I've got a bunch of them, is to go to my website. You can see the address. It's sternfx.com. Press on English if you are an English-speaking person. And then on the word courses, and it will take you to a world of motion graphics, Cinema 4D, Illustrator, and After Effects, basically treat park. So I'm teaching everything from simplest stuff to the, I guess, most advanced stuff.
Cool.
I think everybody can find something that they can, learn. There's always something new to learn.
Always.
My motto.
Cool. Well,
Awesome.
Yeah, we appreciate it. We're gonna get out of here. You can rate us on iTunes, leave a review, helps get our ratings up. Also, if you subscribe, helps get our ratings up. You can subscribe to our newsletter as well, which I still haven't put out yet. I'll probably put out next week because I don't want to do that during Thanksgiving. Nobody's reading their email this week.
Right.
Make sure you do check us out next week, though. We've got Chris Schmidt on the show next week.
Wow.
And speaking of which, I think the Monday meeting is starting right now. I believe that Chad Ashley and Nick Campbell are on today, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I'm going to go check that out after the show. And at least say hi before I go back to my patio.
Right.
Got to get out there before the daylight's all gone. You can say you've been there, done that, got the t-shirt with the Mograph logo tee, the Paul Babb Feel the Bab 2020 shirt. All the profits from that go to Doctors Without Borders. The Render Things t-shirt, hoodie, and long sleeve tee. That Render is Fire shirt, which you're only allowed to wear ironically, unless you're shams. And the new shirt will be up. I'm super behind, I'm sorry, but the new shirt will be up soon of the throwback Mograph tee, graphic blandishment shirt. Yeah, make sure you check that out. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Mograph.com, all the things. Come say hi. Email us.
Yeah.
I promise it's cool. You can email us anytime you want. And that's about it, though. Until next time, I'm Dave.
And I'm Matt.
And I'm Eran.
Have a good one.
Later, yo.
All right. Stand by here. Turn off the things.
Which episode was this day?
260.